Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President. I come before you today to ask the consideration of adopting a new version of the International Building Code and International Residential Code. Some of you may be aware we are currently in the 2012 editions, which are right now, they're published every 3 years. We're three editions behind. So we have had some inquiries from local builders and national builders to update that so that it's more streamlined across the board in other areas that they build in. I have put together a little significant changes of comparison of what we currently are in now versus what the 21 will bring. Very minor. I can go through them individually. It's emergency egress openings, which would be like rescue openings and windows that are in bedrooms. It's just changing the definition of how we, as an inspector, how we measure those.
It's not changing the size of them?
Correct. Everything else is the same. It says instead from the window opening, it's now from the sill or vice versa.
Gotcha. Okay.
The wind design criteria, as you may be aware, years ago we were in a high wind area that provided or required protective glazing and protective windows in some of the beachfront. That went away in 2012. 2020 is the exact same thing. It's not required. Dwelling garage opening protection, basically it's just that right now it's asking a door to be on a self hinge. So when it closes, it automatically closes. Now it just, the new code defines that it wants the little striker to latch itself. So very minor changes there. Room areas, this one kind of changed up where it would change the dynamics of residential homes. Currently, we're asking that's required to have at least 120 square foot minimum. The new code to 2021 would change, only requiring 70 square feet. So essentially, it's reducing the minimum habitable area of the room 50 square feet. Hazardous locations, which are basically identified as areas people could fall into any type of glazing, window door that has glazing in it to help prevent from getting cut. It's a heat treatment process to the glass that almost like a automobile windshield. Instead of breaking in shard, jagged pieces, it breaks up in little small pieces. It's basically what we have been doing now in the definition of how we measure around bathtubs with windows that are located. It just gives a better definition of how we should be measuring it. Stairs, treads, currently, since I think the adoption of the code 30 years ago when we started doing some of the residential, we have maintained that average stair and tread riser heights of 8 1/4 inches with 9-inch treads. New code just basically states they should be 7 3/4 maximum riser height and a minimum 10-inch tread. The biggest thing that probably will come up would be the automatic fire sprinkler system. Some of you may remember when we did adopt the 2012 code, there was a recommendation from a work group that we had at the time asking to exempt that. Again, it's still in the code. That all single-family houses that would be permitted or constructed after the adoption date, if we choose to do so, would require a fire suppression system or sprinkler system. I have talked to a couple different builders, and one of them have given me a percentage of 1 to 2% increase in the cost of construction for a sprinkler system. Another builder has given me the actual figure of an average 2,000 square foot house. Depending on the water flow, it could increase it up from $7,500 to $10,000 per home.
Okay, the water supply source with that,
Yes.
does it have to be an additional well?
It could be. We wouldn't know until actually they go out and dig a well to see exactly what the flow rate of that well would be, to see if there's accelerator pumps, additional domestic water lines, backup tanks that may be required.
That'd have to be far in excess of 10 grand.
That's where I'm going with that.
If you're getting into holding tanks, yes, it would definitely be an excessive. But again, depending on a single, I don't have those numbers in front of me, unfortunately, but I'm sure the fire marshal office, they could chime in as far as what an average house could do.
If they're on central water or their own well.
Yes.
It would be a giant difference. I don't know how you could put that, even put those two in the same category.
Right. So again, very minor changes. That one still stands out as probably the largest one. And
Can you distinguish between whether they're on well or whether they're on central water? Or is that getting too?
at this point, we could probably identify through the water purveyors what regions or what area they have. I don't know if the administration has any information as far as how much of the county, probably 80% maybe is on domestic private well or versus a water company service.
Because like a private well, 4-inch well with a submersible pump in the well itself, how many gallons a minute does that produce, and how many does it need, Mr. President?
That's a good question.
That's getting pretty. I know I'm getting in the weeds, but I think we need to have that ironed out. Well, I know a little bit about building,
Sure.
and a little bit about fire suppression, but not much.
Right, yeah, this is just coming up to asking for consideration to moving forward to the adoption of the code. If we do move forward to the 2021, I'm just stating these are some things that, we would definitely have to work out and get more figures to see
Yeah.
when the time to make a motion, if we do decide that, which way we want to go with it.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Wright, in 2012, it was adopted to exempt the fire sprinklers, so you're indicating it could be done the same way?
That's
Mr. Council
correct. That would
desire?
be up to the decision of
Council.
powers to be, yes.
Of course, I think a lot more information we got to have to. I'm not so sure legally we can adopt a building code that requires sprinklers where you got public water and none of you got a well. That don't even sound right. But I think, depending on the capacity of the sprinkler head, what the flow could be, what the well's going to put out.
Correct.
If you got to increase the well size, increase the pump size, all those things, would that be taken into consideration, I would think. I mean, I'm sure today there's probably, I don't know this, ma'am, you might know this, but I would think that in a normal residential structure in this county, that's in the county, they probably put an X size well in the ground.
Yes.
They all do the same thing, whether it's a 2-inch, whatever size, 4-inch, whatever size it is, and probably a standard pump they put. And if this would not supply the sprinkler system, then you got to upgrade the well size, upgrade the pump size, which is all more cost, obviously.
Yes, that's
I mean, it's much simpler, certainly, when you're on public water. You got water in the street, as long as it's got a flow to it, you can just hook a pipe up and you got sprinklers.
Correct. And from
Like
my
you gotta-
understanding from past ones, it would be, basically the same, that domestic water line coming in from a water purveyor.
Sure.
It would be able to service both the house utilities and the sprinkler system.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'd have to see what the water purveyors have to say. I mean, I think one of the things here, I know this for a fact, I'm being told this by somebody, that there's some conversation, the water purveyor might require 2 lines, one for your domestic water and one for the sprinklers. And I'm saying that
I've heard
because
something the same thing as far as, I'm not sure if
I'm
it's 2
saying
lines
because
or
the
2
fact
meters.
if you suppose the person doesn't pay their water bill, and you as the purveyor turn the water off,
They have a fire.
now we have a fire.
Right.
Or if you've got a second line, you don't turn that off. It's just, what I mean? If that's right or wrong, that's just a conversation out there but it might make some kind of sense.
That's a good point.
And a lot of people here, obviously, in the wintertime, a lot of homes on the east side of the county, some of those they close up, some they're not down here very often.
Winterization.
That's another big issue.
That's a big issue.
Yeah.
I have not heard that personally. It's secondhand information from contractors, builders, homeowners, that when it has been proposed to their insurance company, the insurance company says, well, we know that you're going to sustain more damage from water than anything else. They raise the rates on that way. I have not personally heard that, but from secondhand information,
Sure.
that was another concern.
I mean, I think there's a lot of issues that we need to delve into
I agree.
before we got too far in that conversation. Certainly, I mean, I think anybody would say residential sprinklers are probably a good thing. I've been to fire service my whole life. I couldn't say whether they're not, and they are, and they work.
Right.
But you got to answer the other questions out there except just put a sprinkler system in. What's it cost the guy to do that? Are there issues with somebody goes home and back to where they go in the wintertime and shut the thing off, and then having it doesn't matter what you got, no water going into it, it's not going to work. So a lot of issues we have to talk about, but it could be a good conversation, and maybe at some point in time down the road we need to appoint another working group or something to look at this thing from all aspects to see what it says. Because it looks like to me what you presented today, that other than that one subject, the other stuff
They're
is just
very minor.
basically, just, why wouldn't we?
And like I said, most of the things,
Yeah.
our interpretation
Yeah.
is probably the way
Yeah.
we've been acting and enforcing it all
Sure.
along.
Yes, that's pretty, yeah.
Yeah. And then,
I do
yes,
have a question.
yes, sir.
Mr. Riley?
Would any of this, how would any of this potentially impact tiny homes? You know, because we keep hearing conversation around, you know, we need to make a place in the code for the tiny homes. Would any of this, you know, make that impossible, or?
The only thing that would make it possible would be probably your fire suppression system. You know, again, it's going to be
Size of the
classified, it's going to be,
room. Well, that
there's no difference in the size, it's going to be classified as a dwelling, it would have required.
A window size.
Window size?
Egress windows, they're pretty much standard on, it doesn't matter the size of tiny home. You know, they have egress windows in mobile homes and also our manufactured homes or RV things, so it's very doable. The one thing, key point was that was the minimum room sizes being reduced from 120 to 70 square feet, so it would fall more in
Makes it easier,
that line.
probably.
Correct.
Last question was, we had a gentleman this morning comment, he wanted to know if we would ever have an appendix for mobile homes. And maybe this is a question to ask right now, is that that's something that we should be looking at?
I did hear that statement. I believe there is an appendix in the International Code Council. However, our Sussex County Code, I believe it's, and I could defer to Mr. Whitehouse with our planning and zoning office, but through Chapter 115, I think it already has requirements in there through them for manufactured homes. Basically, I think for what he was asking for more enforcement would be manufactured homes are governed by the HUD through the federal government to make sure they're meeting certain criteria. It wouldn't be, I think it would be the same thing if it's through HUD or through ICC, who would be enforcing it to make sure that they're meeting the same requirements. So don't know.
I think there's a question about what he's actually, they keep talking about this appendix, what it really is.
I'm not clear on what he's asking.
Mr. Lawson, have you talked to anybody that's got his appendix?
We are talking to our friends at Kent County who
they
apparently
have one?
has one and trying to figure out what that gives owners of manufactured housing that we don't afford them with our own code. We're still working on getting an answer and clarity, but we should have an understanding here soon.
Have they sent that to copy to you?
To Mr. Costello.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
'Cause I do know currently, through the HUD program, there's certain requirements they have to meet. However, the installation governed through the state of Delaware, our inspectors go out, we verify
Right.
the hookups, the strap downs, the footings and that sort of thing.
Because I think, in all honesty, I think what they're talking about with this appendix is something to do with the rights of the manufactured homeowner and whoever owns the land. I guess I think it's about inspecting anything.
More about their relationship,
Yeah.
but the state also has code that
Yes, they do.
governs that too.
Yes, they do. So we have to find out what this appendix is first, and then we can maybe have a discussion about, do we need to talk about this, or does the state already do it, or
Yeah, they need to be more
or whatever, yeah.
And maybe as a simplified comparison, the International Residential Code has sections in there dealing with FEMA and floodplain areas, which our zoning office already follows the recommendations from FEMA. So that, again, one's just doing the same thing as the other, but where's it coming from?
Yeah.
So,
When we get a copy of that thing, I guess, and get a chance to look through, we've been with a better idea what he's talking about appendix. They keep using the word appendix. I'm not sure what that really
I'm not sure either.
means. Could mean a number of things, number of people, I guess.
correct.
Any more questions, Mr. Wright? Thank you, sir.
You're certainly welcome. Thank you.
So, Mr. President, this will require us to come back with an ordinance if you so choose to have an update to the next version, which is 2021. So this is just an update to let you know there's some steps in front of us to address. Biggest one probably is going to be residential fire services and how we want to address that. So stay tuned. We will come back with an ordinance at some point to introduce.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.